This wasn't a date. It was a kidnapping, plain and simple. The last thing Violet wanted was to spend another second with this stalker, manipulator, emotionless jerk, you name it. But she had no choice. If she was ever going to get out of the school, she'd have to find some way to appeal to Asher. Hopefully. So when Asher said, "You should sit," without his usual mind control thing, Violet knew it was his way of giving her a chance to behave before he took away her choice completely. The threat was definitely still there, just hidden under fake politeness. Without a word, Violet walked over to the plush leather couch in Jameson's office and sat down. She hoped Principal Jameson would walk in any second and somehow change things. But even with that tiny sliver of hope, Violet knew better. It was becoming super clear that Jameson was just a puppet, and the Cardinal Alphas were pulling the strings. As soon as she sat, Asher followed, casually plopping down beside her. He faced her, one leg bent, acting all relaxed like they were friends about to chat, even though the air was thick with tension. "Turn towards me," he ordered, like a king expecting total obedience. Violet obeyed, but she let out a big, dramatic sigh, her little way of rebelling. Not that Asher seemed to care. As long as she did what he said, she could have been wearing a potato sack, and he wouldn't have blinked. They sat facing each other, Violet wondering what he was planning, while Asher messed with his phone. His hair fell over his forehead as he concentrated, and for some weird reason, Violet felt like brushing it aside. She shook her head. "What is wrong with me?" There was no way she was getting Stockholm Syndrome already. Suddenly, Asher looked up, a huge smile spreading across his face as he put his phone down. It was so unexpected and genuine, it caught her off guard. The happiness seemed real, and it almost looked good on him. He used her distraction to his advantage, grabbing her hand. "So, about my powers," he murmured, holding her hand tight as she tried to pull away. His warmth was almost too much. "Mind control and mind reading are two totally different things," he explained, "even though they both deal with the mind. Technically, it's possible to have both. If I really tried, I could learn to read minds, but honestly, it's supposed to be a total headache, and I'd like to keep what little sanity I have left." Oh, great, Violet thought. He just admitted he's not all there. Asher kept talking like they were in some messed-up classroom, drawing little circles on her arm. It was weirdly soothing, but it also made her super aware of him. "With mind control," he started, "I can make someone do whatever I want. It's like forcing them to do things they wouldn't normally do." He paused, then added casually, "For example, I could make you kiss me." Violet's whole body went stiff. She looked up at him, shocked, then disgusted. But as she stared into his weird, captivating eyes, an idea formed. "Maybe this is how I get out of this." "The kiss?" she said, the air suddenly feeling heavy. "Is that what you want? Is that your reason for all this?" Asher raised an eyebrow, surprised. Before he could answer, Violet pushed him back against the couch, leaning over him. "If that's all it is, let's just get it over with." Asher stared at her, stunned, before bursting out laughing. Violet frowned. She wasn't trying to be funny. Then she felt his hand on her neck, his fingers brushing her lip, and she shivered. He stared at her lips and her cheeks flushed. "If all I wanted was a kiss," Asher finally said, "I would have taken it already. And while I do like the fire in your eyes, when we kiss, it won't be because you feel obligated. You won't look like you're doing me a favor. Your eyes will burn with passion, Violet, not defiance." Violet flinched as if he'd slapped her, the force of his words hitting hard. She pulled back, letting Asher straighten up. He grinned, clearly feeling victorious. Without missing a beat, as if their intense moment had never happened, he reached for her hand again. Violet resisted, baring her teeth. Asher didn't back down, mirroring her expression with a low growl. That growl was a stark reminder that beneath Asher's human exterior lurked something primal. She hesitated, then reluctantly let him take her hand. Again. "As I was saying," he continued, "I can give direct orders, subtly influence decisions, or totally override your choices." Violet shivered. The idea of him turning someone into a puppet was terrifying. She wondered how much he'd already messed with her mind. How many of her actions were actually his? Had he planted the idea of her coming to Lunaris Academy just to set up this twisted first date? No. Violet shook her head. She knew herself. She wouldn't willingly stay at the school after everything that had happened between them. This was her decision, not anyone's. However, Asher's voice cut through her thoughts. My ability depends on my willpower, my focus, and sometimes the emotional connection between me and my target. He trailed off, intertwining their fingers. It was a simple gesture, but Violet's heart raced for reasons she couldn't understand. If my target is strong-willed, they might resist, especially if they know what's happening, Asher explained, his voice almost teasing. But since you're basically a newborn, we'll be having lots of late-night dates, my purple queen. In other words, he was planning on invading her dreams. The thought was scary, but also strangely exciting. It wasn't every day a stalker hot guy invaded your dreams. No, it wasn't romantic at all. But Violet was still a girl, and the idea of a cute guy obsessed with her, even a slightly crazy one, was kind of thrilling. Why me? Violet whispered. She needed to understand. Her application had been creative, sure, but others must have caught his eye too. This time, Violet didn't flinch when Asher ran his fingers through her hair. His touch was gentle, almost like a massage, and she nearly melted. She shouldn't be getting comfortable with Asher, the mind control psycho, but there was something vulnerable about the moment that drew her in. "Don't you get it?" Asher whispered, his eyes intense. "You're my rebellion." "What?" "My future," he corrected. "Our futures are all mapped out. But you, my chosen one, will be the wrench in the gears. You'll tear them all apart and maybe then rip out my bleeding heart. How poetic is that?" He laughed, the sound bordering on manic. Violet pulled away, uneasy. Almost immediately, the office door opened and Violet's heart leaped. Principal Jameson? But it wasn't. Instead, a young girl in a Lunaris Academy uniform entered, pushing a cart. "Alpha Asher," the girl said, bowing her head, waiting for instructions. "What is going on?" Violet frowned. Asher glanced at his watch, a slight frown creasing his forehead. "You might be late for your first class, but don't worry, I'll handle it. My purple queen needs to eat first." "What?" Violet blurted out, totally confused. Before she could wrap her head around it, the girl started setting out food on the small table in Principal Jameson's office. "All done, Asher," the girl chirped, practically beaming as if serving him was a huge deal. Asher barely glanced at her, just shooed her away with a wave of his hand. Then his intense eyes locked onto Violet. "Well, eat. You think I'd let you roam around campus, starving, after that breakfast fiasco?" Violet froze. He knew about that? While her first instinct was to refuse, her stomach grumbled. Okay, fine. She was hungry. Just this once, she'd let it slide. She looked down at the table and her jaw dropped. Goosebumps erupted all over her skin. The food was exactly what she'd ordered that morning. Down to the last detail, even the drink. This was way beyond creepy. This was full-blown stalker territory.
Wait, that's not the end. You've just had a free taste. Now get the full story on the Pocket FM app, link in description. Check out our next video and playlist, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.